Once upon a time, in the great silent reaches of space, there circled a small blue planet, a place of incredible colors and infinite variety, and the home of something unique in all the known universe, life.
There was so much life bursting from every corner of this wondrous globe that the planet itself seemed alive. Life swirled in dazzling patterns in the oceans and filled the rivers and lakes.
Life wiggled through the soil where nothing was wasted, where the birth of each new seed was nourished by the remains of each life that came before it.
Life flew through the air, soaring on ever-changing winds through great white seas of clouds and endless stretches of cleansing blue.
Life even blossomed in the deepest, darkest valleys of the ocean where no sunlight could reach,
And in the frozen Arctic ice.
and atop the highest mountain peaks.
Life itself seemed without end, able to withstand any change, any challenge.
Eternal, like a god, yet gentle, patient, nourishing, like a goddess.
But when it was injured, it would cry out. When it became ill, it would suffer. And if it were wounded deeply enough, it would bleed.
Indeed, it was no goddess. It was mortal, like you and I. Its healing powers were not limitless. The life that burst from its every corner was not magical, but real and fragile. And if it was not handled with care, it could become sick, very sick, and a terrible grayness would replace the incredible colors, and life itself would cease.
Our tale begins after many of these colors had already disappeared, yet only a few of the inhabitants of the planet seemed to notice. Could these few awaken a graying world? Could they save what was left, or bring back what had been lost? Could they make a difference to a desperate planet on the edge?
This is our home, our refuge. We must never disown. Without her, we are all alone. There is no other, there's no other mother but her. From her bounty comes life and birth. Can we deprive land and sea of what they need to thrive? If we do, how can they survive? Can we revive what's been lost? Can we keep it alive? If we don't, how can we survive? I hear them calling, it is time to save the planet. There's no more stalling, it's our home we must defend. Our generation must come forth and save the planet. The night is falling and our time is at hand. Save the planet. Save the planet. Save What happens next? Do we go on unchecked in neglect, or do we gain a new respect? We can protect our sweet earth, we can interconnect as we learn all that we affect. Hear the hushed voice of the earth singing songs
stories about isolated ecological disasters.
But these disasters never seem to be happening to them.
In Africa, the Sahara Desert continues to expand as the 20-year drought lingers on. 70% of African cattle have died in the last decade.
In the Soviet Union, the Aral Sea, once larger than Lake Michigan, is vanishing from the face of the earth. Rivers that fed this one-time major fishery have been siphoned off in order to irrigate vast collective cotton fields, leaving miles of salt flats in its place. Giant dust storms
The lifting of the Iron Curtain in Eastern Europe has revealed a land choking in its own pollution. 80% of its forests have been damaged by acid rain. In the industrial cities, 6 out of 10 people suffer from respiratory disease. Officials are wondering who will pay for the cleanup.
Wherever they went, stories like these would follow.
On the way to work, over the car radio.
3,000 dolphins washed ashore today along the Atlantic coast after eating fish contaminated by toxic algae. It seems the algae had been fed, in turn, by agricultural runoff and acid rain from the coastal cities.
Or on the television during hurried suppers.
U.S. farmers who frequently handle pesticides and herbicides are 6 times more likely to develop some form of cancer. And in other news, food prices continue to climb.
Or camouflaged among 100 other crises in the daily newspaper, seemingly unrelated news items began to gather momentum.
But the worse things got, the less people paid attention to them.
To gain an audience, newsmakers had to practically put on a circus.
Did you see it on your TV? Acid rain is killing the trees. They say it's raining down like a lemon, just choking all the fish in the lake. Must be some mistake, or maybe it's fate. Did you hear on your radio? Reactor blows actionable. It seems that no one bothered telling the people in the towns that live near. But don't you fear, it can't happen here. The whole world is crying. 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 The whole world is
Did you read in your daily news? One more tanker starting to ooze. The oil spreading across the beaches and making all the creatures upset. But don't you fret, it's not to us yet.
The business next door said to the press, the stuff they're making is hazardous. Seems they've been dumping all their chemicals
all was not without hope. There were heroes among the people who called the planet home.
Men who in an earlier time might have been the ones to step forward and challenge the belching flames and noxious fumes of a fire-breathing dragon.
And women who might have led a rebellion against the evil queen for her wicked potions that weakened and withered all things bright and beautiful.
And children who were wise beyond their years and understood what they must do to save their own futures.
But in the time of our story, the new heroes used a weapon more powerful than the sword, for they were fighting enemies far more difficult to track and almost too numerous to defeat.
Their new weapon was called knowledge, and the banner under which they fought was called science.
The most respected scientist of the day was Dr. Murdoch, a thoughtful and tireless man who hopped around the globe from one disaster to the next. With the help of his dedicated daughter, he searched for solutions to the most pressing environmental dilemmas. The only problem was, there were too many problems.
As we speak, he is preparing to be interviewed by the queen of on-the-spot investigative reporting, Ms. Suzanne Sincerity.
I need your cooperation for this one.
Let's listen in.
Come on! Alright, did you get that lighting check over there? Read the script! Now, did you make the revisions or not? Alright, here we go! 3, 2, 1. You're on, Miss Sincerity!
I'm coming to you today live from the headwaters of the Indus River on the border of Pakistan and India. Reports have just come in of a startling phenomenon. Dr. Murdoch tells me that all across both nations there has been a sudden disappearance of frogs?
Well, not exactly sudden. Indeed, there is a wonderful saying that my daughter picked up from the people here. How does it go, Melanie?
By the time a problem becomes obvious to everyone, it is usually too late to solve it.
Oh, yes, that's how it goes. Fine saying, don't you think? All too true.
Then the whole reason you've been called to this part of the globe is to help the frogs?
Yes, I just finished addressing a similar problem in Eastern Europe. Frogs were disappearing there, too, mainly due to the immense acid rain problem there. I installed one of my better-selling inventions at the larger power plants, a smokestack scrubber that takes out most of the air pollutants from the smoke. But the frogs haven't come back yet.
I told them just to turn off the power plants altogether, but they wouldn't listen to me.
Yes, well, my daughter is a little overzealous at times. She doesn't realize how many people will be thrown out of work if that happened. Mass unemployment, no electricity. People would be tearing down the forest just to gather firewood and food, and what a mess. They'd end up worse off than before. No, you just can't go around closing plants.
But what about the frogs? What does an animal have to do to stake a claim to survival?
Well,
What about these frogs, Dr. Murdoch? I personally don't see what the fuss is all about.
The frog, you see, is an excellent measure of the quality of the environment. In the case of Pakistani agriculture, the overuse of pesticides and draining of wetlands has wreaked havoc with the frog population. And yet, I'm still not quite sure why they've completely disappeared.
First Eastern Europe, now India and Pakistan. I've also heard that their numbers are down a third in the United States. What does it all mean? Where have all the frogs gone?
Why don't you just ask them?
Ask whom?
The frogs. Or if you can't find any, ask the flowers, or lily pads, or cattails. If anyone knows, they should.
But flowers can't talk.
You just never listen. Frogs are very special to all the other creatures. They invented music. They were the first true singers. Just think about it.
Putting rhythm in the air with Then that croaking turned to song, and that's how music was born. Near and far, beneath moon and star, you could hear the music play, bridging night to day. Free and clear, the first balladeer, singing in the marsh and swamps, launched his new career. Here they come the frogs, leaping down and toes upon the logs. Telegram in rhythm in the air, Billy Slam and amphibian there. Let's party! First they clear the throats, we're climbing out in tortoise strokes. Billy Ham and croaking turned to song, we're the slam, that's how music was born. Come party!
Yes, that's how it began. But then something happened to the little frogs. The rain that fed the gardens and the swamps was no longer sweet and clear. It became tainted with chemicals picked up from polluted air on the way down. The acid ate into the frogs' unprotected jelly-like eggs, and their babies stopped being born. Then bulldozers filled in their marshy homes, and the frogs disappeared.
What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? Where are the frogs? Tapping toes upon the logs, floating rhythm in the air, with that amphibian flair. Have they lost their voice? Did they even have a choice? Are they lost or merely shy? Or has all their music died? What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? What can be done? Do we know what is happening? Where have they gone? There's no place to hide. They're only one, there are more of their dying. They're overrun, can we stem the tide? Where have they gone? Where is everyone?
And that's our story for tonight, live from wherever bad news is happening. This is Suzanne Sincerity signing off.
Okay, cut! All right, that's a wrap. All right, save the lights, people. We need,
What? There's a late breaking scoop that's gotta air. It's about that scientist, Murdoch.
Dr. Murdoch.
Yeah, something about a new invention or something.
Listen, have you got it scripted? If Miss Sincerity's gonna cover it, it's gotta be scripted.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's all here. Murdoch is scheduled to announce something big any minute.
All right, bring the cameras back out. Miss Sincerity, you're on in 30 seconds.
What do you mean, 30 seconds? How can I go on looking like this? This is outrageous! Oh, my
Bring the
eyes!
lights over here, people. That's good. Okay, here's your script, Miss Sincerity. Dr. Murdoch is due any minute now. All right, we're ready to roll.
I said we
3,
won't do
2,
it.
1, you're on the air.
This is Suzanne Sincerity returning to you, live, with an exclusive interview of that esteemed scientist, Dr. Murdoch. In a technological leap beyond his invention of the smokestack scrubber, he has designed something totally revolutionary to clean the air in ways his scrubber could not. I believe he is with us now. Dr. Murdoch?
Yes, it's good to see you again, Miss,
Ms. Suzanne Sincerity.
Yes, Miss Sincerity, is it? Yes, of course.
I believe you have an announcement to make.
Oh, yes. Glad you brought it up. I've invented an absolutely splendid device. It was originally designed to take carbon dioxide emissions out of the air, which it does quite well, and replace them with fresh, breathable oxygen, which it also does. However, there are some marvelous side effects as well. It not only cleans the air, but it cools it too. It holds the soil, protecting it from erosion. It replaces moisture in the air to combat drought. It's pretty. Yes, looks quite pleasant. It's a perfect home for wildlife. It's biodegradable, and it even provides shade on sunny days.
That all sounds too good to be true. What do you call such a device?
Well, I call it a tree.
A
Yes, quite
tree?
simply a
But,
tree.
Doctor, there are already millions of trees all across the globe.
You see, I told you, Daddy.
Wonderful, aren't they? The only difference is that the ones that occur in nature are free. Mine will cost, well, I'm not exactly sure how much they will cost, but I'm sure they won't be free.
I think what my father is trying to say is that some of the best devices for cleansing the air, processing waste, filtering water, and supplying nutrients are already a part of nature.
Very good.
If we don't preserve them, the cost to all of us will be enormous.
Well put, my dear. And these tree things, they're really wonderful. But they only work if there are enough of them. That's why we're off to, where are we off to next, Melanie?
Brazil, the rainforest in Brazil.
Yes, quite right. Seems they've been cutting them down at a dreadful rate. We simply must go down there and see what can be done about it.
So the scientist and his daughter continued on their quest. What they discovered was that the rainforest was being replaced by farms and grazing land. The farmers themselves were so poor that they had no alternative but to cut down the trees.
scientist and his daughter struggled to come up with ways to help the poor farmers. The daughter suggested they find ways to make a living off the forest itself, to gather its food and medicines and other produce. Although this would enable the people to subsist, it would not earn them enough money to pay off their heavy debts, and they rejected it.
The scientist tried to make their farming more productive. He invented fertilizers to replace the rainforest's complex and fragile soil ecology. He invented pesticides to replace the frogs and birds and bats, all of which were now extinct. And he helped them divert the river to irrigate their fields, but the productivity of the land continued to decline.
Then an unexpected turn of events shook them to the bone. Word spread through the villages that all the fish had disappeared. Fishermen were returning from the sea, their nets empty. The scientist rushed to the coastal village, expecting to find chaos and utter turmoil.
Instead, he found the people gathered together along the shoreline, listening to an old fisherwoman. She was explaining to the villagers what she had just witnessed.
So we went out farther still, and the waves rose up around us like a canyon. As I looked up, praying that the sea would cradle me in safety as she always has, I saw them leap from the water. Fishes, whales, dolphins all. They ascended into the sky like angels, and I fell upon the floor of the boat in awe. When I gained the strength to raise my head, I found myself face to face with the great whale, and I knew somehow that it was the last of all the whales left in the sea. I expected to find a heavenly peace in its eyes, but instead I saw a deep and sudden fear. I followed its gaze up into the sky, to the very point where all the fishes and creatures of the sea had risen. And then I saw it too, a huge and gaping hole, a giant nothingness that was pulling all things toward it, a hole in the sky as blinding as the naked sun. When I turned back to the last great whale, wishing to know what it all meant, I realized I was alone. It had gone. My only hope is that it too had not been pulled into that terrible hole in the sky.
To discover the reason for the disappearance of the fish, the scientist and his daughter went out to sea with the old woman and several other villagers. Looking out across the rolling eternal waves, the scientist wondered, could the oceans be completely dead? A second sighting of the last great whale lent hope that all was not lost.
Although his daughter wanted to follow the great whale, thinking like the old fisherwoman that it somehow held an answer to what should be done, her father pushed on to a new destination. He had heard tales of a radical recycling project right in the heart of the world's most populated metropolis, Mexico City. He imagined shiny new factories reprocessing aluminum, copper, glass, and other materials. He thought he would find power plants capable of turning community garbage into usable energy. He envisioned thousands of windmills and solar energy stations and conservation programs in every neighborhood.
What he found instead was a sprawling city of 20 million people, growing so fast with refugees from the poorer countryside that in the next few years its population was expected to reach 26 million. The city itself was surrounded by shanty towns, tiny plywood shacks, and mud as far as the eye could see, and everywhere there were people.
They were having a garbage gala, a huge party amidst the mounds of trash. They were recycling the garbage by making it into replicas of real things, now lost to extinction. Garbage-made frogs, and garbage-made trees, and garbage-made animals of every variety. For a moment, they almost seemed to bring back the colors that had slipped away.
It was hours before the scientist noticed that his daughter was missing, what with the crowd and the noise and all. Her disappearance made him frantic. Then he found a note explaining that she was not lost, but had run away. She said she could no longer participate in the destruction of the earth. She said she must do something right away to save what was left, before it was too late.
Don't worry about me, Daddy. I'm doing something you've always wanted to do yourself. I'm giving the future back to the planet. It's all for the best, really. Just remember that I love you very much. Forever yours, Melanie.
The scientist stood in disbelief, not knowing where to turn. Everywhere there was turmoil. All across the globe, the same thing was happening. No one could find their own children. The future of humankind was vanishing before their very eyes.
As if in a dream, the scientist turned toward the sea. Could his daughter have gone back to find the great whale? A slow, sad song seemed to reach across the never-ending waves, beckoning him. Then, just on the horizon, he saw it. The white foam spouting into the blue air, leading him on, and from his lips came the ancient cry of the hunt. "There she blows! There she blows!" But this time, the hunt was for life, for a future nearly lost. Alone in his quest, he sailed on.
Where have you gone? Girl, please come home. You are my love and my life. Girl, don't be gone. Be safe and warm. Hold on until I arrive. Sing, sing on, you beautiful whale. Sing, sing as I follow your call. Lead, lead me on. Bring me there. Show me where my daughter hides. What have we done? Left all alone, squandered our future, our lives. Children, come home, be safe and sound. Please let me find you alive. Where have you gone? Girl, please come home. You are my love and my life. Girl, don't be gone. Be safe and warm. Hold on until I arrive.
The great whale led him to an island he thought was completely deserted. He rested on the shore, wondering if his long journey had been in vain. Then, at the moment of his deepest despair, he heard laughter rise up around him from the foliage. A child stepped out, smiling quietly. Then another, then another. Soon the entire beach was filled with children, their eyes expectant, yet uncertain.
Then the group parted, and what appeared before him was the most beautiful sight he'd ever seen.
Melanie? Melanie!
Daddy, you
Oh,
come!
my dear Melanie!
The children laughed and cried in joy, as if, for each of them, it was their parent who had come to the rescue, and now stood among them.
So good to see you.
So good to see all of you. All I want to do is get you back to your homes, safe and sound. Everyone has missed you very much.
I miss Mommy. Please take me home.
What did you say, my dear?
We can't go back. We must stay here. We have to let the Earth reclaim what is hers. We have to stop destroying her.
Melanie, you've made your point. From land to land, everyone has seen the vision of a world with no children, no future. You've scared us all into believing. We will change. We are already changing. Look at our own country and all the progress that's been made. Just come back and help.
No, the stakes are too high. What is my future compared to the future of the entire planet?
Your future is everything, Melanie.
We can't. We just can't.
The children looked on in horror. For the first time, they realized why she had brought them to the island. She intended to save the planet by hiding away humanity. She was sacrificing their futures for the future of the Earth.
Melanie, listen to me. We've learned many things. We've learned that even with our technological know-how, we are still utterly dependent on nature. But even more importantly, we've learned how much nature is dependent on us. We can't just turn our backs on
Daddy, aren't we all to blame for this? Isn't it all our fault?
How can I say this to make you understand? All the years we spent going from disaster to disaster, seeing too much decay, too little success. One thing has kept me going. You! Your courage, your determination, your love of life. That's what makes people human. What enables them to dream great dreams. I believe in a world that is made up of people like you. People that create more than they destroy. That can heal the world to which they owe so much. It's starting to happen. The tide is turning. But it won't keep happening if you give up. If you stop wanting it. If you aren't there to make your dream come true.
Oh, Daddy.
Come back, Melanie. Be a part of it again. Help make the tough choices. Help find the right solutions. We need you. I need you.
All right, Daddy. Let's go home.
And so our tale ends with a new beginning, as a young girl and her wise father bring back to a world in need a new hope,
A new dream,
a lasting determination,
and the courage
to save the planet.
What